Well, it's happened. I kind of just can't stop. And the funny thing is, I've just finished the free trial of Final Fantasy XIV. Yeah, Heavensward, done. 3.5.6, done. Finished the patches, and man, it's as if the patches. It's like the expansion after the expansion. It's crazy just how much really good plot they're able to get into those patches, and just how well they capitalize and everything. So today it is time to continue the journey of, I suppose, my journey through Final Fantasy XIV. The first thing I want to talk about is the first set of patches for Heavensward. So first, we've got to talk about the Dragonsong patches. And man, what a great way to capitalize on everything you've set up. That's really the core. 3.0, I think it had a overall very satisfying conclusion, especially at a character level, right? With all of the cast, all the people around you, it just ended very satisfyingly. But they did a really good job of still dangling the very obvious looming threat. And I suppose, look, I can't really talk through these things without spoilers, can I? So, spoilers. The looming threat of Nidhogg, right? And all of that. Super well set up. And then, of course, that all really works because you kind of understand the political situation with the dragons, even within, right, within the dragons, how everything is set up in Ishgard, which, again, that whole thing of like a society's foundational myth being questioned and changing, and how a society actually is able to move forward through that's stuff that's just very interesting to me in general. So it was pretty much firing on all cylinders. It was interesting because I think, was it point 1 that started off a little bit slow? But then, you get to that duty at the end, right? Where the Holy Seas, kind of like diehard people, are still causing a ruckus. Emmerich almost gets assassinated. You're like, oh shit, yes, there is still lots to do. There's still lots going on. This is a pace that is evidently a lot faster than what I came to expect with the A Realm Reborn patches, at least earlier on with them. And then they start doing all of the fun things like teasing shit, Why is Urianger talking to friggin' Ascian? What's going on? So all of that was, also so well set up. And it's just that thing where, the patches, they're not extra bits of story. They really are the rest of the story, a continuation of the story. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, but as compared to World of Warcraft, it's like World of Warcraft does all of this, like, really, all this world building that just kind of goes nowhere, or goes really not that far in its expansion. And then the actual A-plot just zips at lightning speed through the patches. Whereas with this, they had a very reasonably paced main campaign, and they just continue and give you more of it through the patches. And that just all means that the pacing and the time you spend with the characters, it's those more experiential parts of something, And it's just the sort of thing where you care about Ishgard and its cast of characters. 3.0 left you in this perfect place, and that means that by the time the rest of it happens, Emmerich gets stabbed, you see all of that unfold. I was surprised how much I did not want him to die, right? I had that reaction to that cutscene. I was like, no, you haven't fucking killed him. No, you're not allowed to. Turned out he was okay, but still, they're getting me surprisingly tied to all of these characters. Now, after the stabbing of Emmerich, really the pace does increase a lot. You get this definite sense of things being on a knife edge. And as you move into 3.2, I love them just spending time with the townspeople, And this is something, because, spoilers, I'm into Stormblood at the minute. It's something I really like that they do here. They do try to keep things grounded to the real experience of the real people who live in these fictional city-states, but it makes it all feel very real. They're spending time with the townspeople. So, yeah, it's like you totally get that thing if they've spent all of, all their sons have died, their daughters have died, all of this stuff is, and now they're just being asked to make peace with them all and end it. And you can just understand their struggle. And that just builds Ishgard out to feel a lot more rich, a lot more real. It makes the story feel grounded in a way where, it's not like so, oh my god, epic moments all of the time. Super, like, popcorny fantasy. It's not that. I mean, yeah, obviously, there's bits where you look at your player character, you're like, god damn, I am very cool and very badass, in spite of how I look a bit silly. You know, yeah, there is all of that, and the times they do have their more, you know, over the top flourishes and stuff, but the actual like setup of the world and the plot all just feels really, it just feels grounded. And that means that smaller incidents hit way harder. And, you know, with Blizzard and World of Warcraft, they're doing their burning of Teldrasils and all of that, and they're not treating it with the care and attention that Square Enix are treating things like this. And I think I'll have similar things to say as I go through Stormblood a little bit more, you know, actually having the plight of the people. And that just makes the story feel like it matters. It makes Eorzea feel like it matters. You know, comparing to patch 8.2.5 of WoW, I mean, they just do that stuff with the common folk better. Now, moving into the Grand Melee, I mean, that was great, because it made sense in terms of, you know, the plot and it being grounded and everything, but also, it's a nice, lighthearted break of pace, and I get to fight Robam, and that's pretty fucking cool. He's just so cool. I don't know what else there is to say, he's just so cool. He's only got one arm, he just uses it 5 times as hard. So all of that is, you know, just, all perfect. And then all, of course, taking us to the conclusion, 3.3, the end of the Dragonsong War. The dungeon, first of all, with Praeskilfr, very fun. And man, when you get to that Nidhogg fight scene, like, I don't know exactly how they do it, but the sense of scale they're able to achieve is just so goddamn strong in this game. The spectacle of that Nidhogg fight was incredible. And I mean, if I think about the times that I fought dragons, there's the end of the A Realm Reborn. There's that dragon fight, of course, Bahamut, and then Nidhogg, and it's just like, man, every time you fight a dragon, it's just really cool, really cool. So I love that. Great scene. What a great trial. And then as you exit that, of course, Estinian's in a bad way. And Alphinaud, and this is where Alphinaud is like, well, so much of Heavensward is you and Alphinaud journeying together. And it kind of, I mean, Yoshi P definitely shone a spotlight in this when recently he talked about, you know, Alphinaud was a bit of a Redditor in A Realm Reborn. By the time Heavensward's done, he's grown. And you really do feel like that. They do this good job of, you know, he still is a smart bastard and all of that, but you know, he's also young. He also is going to struggle with dealing with these things, you know, emotionally opening up a bit more. And yeah, he's completely perfectly done, I really think. And it's just this thing that they're doing, and there's some of this with Y'shtola and their Kryl and stuff as well, where the way that they're kind of rebuilding the Scions, it's like they build out the Scions in a very expansive way, decently quickly, early in A Realm Reborn, and now they're more slowly building the Scions back again, but in a way where it all feels so much more driven by the motivations of those characters, not just in how they serve the plot, but like them themselves. And that's just really strong. So by the end of 3.3, you've got all the great character stuff going on. You've got that feeling of the world actually changing. And you really do have a sense of the importance of your character in all of these events. They managed to do that thing where, I mean, look, you very much are just doing the dirty work of the Scions in a way, but they managed to do that without you just feeling like a battle mule. I guess for other things, I've said this before, like the dragon lore, it's really deep. I really like it. It doesn't feel generic. Other things as well, like I like how they're happy to do quiet moments, you know? Sharing a meal with Emmerich. At the start, I think it's 3.3, you know, you're invited over to his house, you reminisce. You go on like you are, you know, colleagues, comrades, friends, like you've actually spent quite a lot of time with this character, and this character actually knows you. So with Emmerich, they've been able to do that in, I mean, a way Blizzard have never done with the likes of Jaina or Anduin or Thrall or any of those people. So yeah, just between Emmerich being there, of course, Alphinaud as your partner in crime, of course then the character deaths that they've very well executed up to this point, they just nail it all. But of course, that's actually not where it ends. Patch 3.2, or 3.4. See that Warrior Darkness stuff? See the first time? I'll have to find the text messages that I sent Matt, but it was a bit of a, whoa, wait, what the What's Meteor doing here? But he's evil. I'm confused. The Warrior of Darkness stuff is great. It's such a good way to cover that like cosmic spooky lore. And the first thing I really noticed with patch 3.4 is Alisaie. Alisaie is such a bloody good character to have around. I'll talk about her a bit more later, but Alisaie is just so good to have in the cast. She rounds things out near perfectly. But yeah, so as for 3.4, builds, I mean, you've got the shock, obviously, of Alisaie's just been shot, but other than that, it's a little bit slow. And then, you finish the dungeon, Warrior of Darkness party is there. And it's really funny because, I mean, there's people that boost through this stuff. How on earth could you... I haven't got near Shadowbringers, obviously, but between doing patch 3.4 and, of course, A Realm Reborn, I'm just thinking, like, how on earth could you go near Shadowbringers without actually playing through this content? Surely it would make no sense. So for this, yes, loads of mind blows. I was super hooked. All of that Urianger stuff, I'm like, come on now, you wouldn't really. And, of course, he doesn't really betray you, does he? But it's... God, the lore is so interesting. I'm still trying to, like, more wrap my head around it, and... yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the lore, you know, all of the stuff with, like, the source, and I suppose all of these, like, all of the different worlds. I need to not let some thoughts that I have from other fictional universes, like Age of Sigmar, sort of come in here. The idea, though, of, like, there is a... see, right now, I don't know if it's, like, literally another world, or if it's basically Alt Eorzea, and those, like, sort of, I don't know, different permutations came to be, but for whatever way it works, Warrior of Darkness and his crew feel like, you know, big villains at the start, right? That's just what they feel like. As time goes on, though, you do start to feel bad for them. You actually learn what's happened to their world. You know, it's being basically bathed in light. But, you know, not in a, glorious, happy way. More in a, your entire world has been disinfected kind of way. And I think a lot of it's through, I guess, Warrior of Darkness, Meteor's voice acting, but you can feel it in his voice. You actually do feel bad for them. The way that their role in this story concludes, and I don't know if they come back in the future, but the way that it seems to conclude, just like hits really well. And in a way where, you know, you, the player, you're just like, man, okay. You know, I've been trying to follow this Hydaelyn Zodiark stuff and work out what all of these Ascians are doing. And it just gives you a real brain conundrum to reckon with, doesn't it? And the main thing I was left thinking is, my God, what would it have been like playing this when it was new content, not knowing about Shadowbringers? So basically, most of my time was spent going, what the fuck is going on? And now I'm so excited for Shadowbringers because, I mean, all I know is there's this world washed with light. They have to be the Warriors of Darkness, blah, blah, blah. And then I think about the cinematic for Shadowbringers, which I guess I really shouldn't have watched. You know, the big sort of angel looking nice and evil. I'm like, oh, sign me up. So that was great. And then, of course, there is the Storm of Blood. Because the final patch I thought was just incredible. And I don't even know where to begin. I mean, there's obviously the emotional core of it, which is Papolino. And again, this is just another case of thank you to everyone who told me to do Coils of Bahamut. Well, it's not just Coils, it's, you know, the whole everything of Bahamut. Do Bahamut, please. I guess you probably have already done Bahamut if you're looking at this video, but people really need to do Bahamut to have these things actually land. You know, it's like the whole Louis Suarez finest student thing. It just doesn't really work as well if you've not done Bahamut. So, in terms of broad narrative strokes, Papolino going, and I know I've kind of skipped this bit. You know, it hits surprisingly hard given how little time you've spent with that character. But I mean, you have spent a decent bit. So you do feel it. It also has some inherited feels from Bahamut and Louis Suarez and all of that. I like then how they started to bring in player choice here. Now, not player choice in a way that changes the outcome, but it's important to be able to define who your character is in this story. So, Ida not really, wanting to leave. I was like, okay, well, you know what? I am not going to abandon you. Then, of course, he's just like, be gone. It's a really, look, it's basically just a really good moment. And so far they've hit every single one of these moments. And that's just good. Nero and Sid. The Nero-Sid dynamics are the best. I enjoy them so much. And, what really works here and all of this stuff, because as well, I should also say, the Doman fella, pronunciation, I can't believe that's just left my head. The way that they intro him had me almost belly laughing, because the yo, that was more of a Belfast yo than a Japan yo. But that little meme video they play, I'm very sure they literally used that for his introduction. But yet he actually feels like a real character. So it's that sort of thing as well, with the Domans arriving there. I met Yugiri in, I don't know, 3.1, 3.2? Or sorry, 2.2, 2.1, something like that, ages ago. And, now I'm with Yugiri, of course, in Stormblood. It's they set shit up. It makes sense. The story continues. The stuff still makes sense, and then it's brought back up again. And I know that this is basic narratives. What can I say? I haven't exactly been used to these things being done perfectly in an MMORPG. And here it is, right? So even when we have a situation of, there's I suppose, a primal has been summoned, it's the ritual of binding has kept it in. We have Omega, so some, crazy technology thing. Even with all of this stuff happening, the rules of this world make sense. And it's the sort of thing where I really have that pronounced feeling of people are going to see, the forests of Gridania, then they're going to see Magitech, and they're going to be like, what the hell? This is just a bunch of random shit thrown into a world. Then they'll see friggin' Noctis's boy band car, and they'll be really confused. But it's once you actually get past that initial bewilderment, within the world, the logical consistency, all of that stuff is just really damn solid. And I guess that's it. ARZ is just really well established. Ilberd. Sloppy. I really did jump the gun, didn't I? Because, of course, Ilberd's long dead by the time of most of the things I've talked about. Ilberd's a great villain. Such a good villain. It's how they develop it in the Realm Reborn patches, where, you suspect there's corruption and bullshit going on in the Crystal Braves. And they know that you suspect that. So then the way they subvert what you expect is by being like, oh no, they're actually just completely corrupt and you're being played. And that was really strong, and Ilberd's betrayal was really strong. Everything with Ilberd has been really strong. Then he gets his new voice actor. And it's really funny because whatever reason, whenever he talks, I kind of just hear Bobby Beep. But other than that, he's just great. And by the end, he's such a fucking unhinged madman. But also with a bit of a point. And the way that he's just thrusting us all, all into this conflict in a way where we really can't control it. Just Ilberd's great. He's really well motivated. He's logically consistent. Yes, he does act in a very villainous, evil way, but he absolutely is the hero of his own story. It's just he literally is willing to do anything to, advance the Alamecan cause. So he's really, really well done. And all of that just led to a fantastic patch, a fantastic finish. I right after that, it's I thought I'd be like, okay, well, I'm a bit sleepy, so time to, go to bed, revisit this game tomorrow. No, I quickly blasted down some notes, and I'm like, what am I going to do? Stormblood! So, to wrap this video up then, I just want to highlight a few things I liked. So, character dialogue from the Warrior of Light. It's getting stronger, and it's great proof that direct mechanical output of your choice is not required. Whenever you give a player a choice like that, what they say to themselves is, how do I respond to this? How do I respond to the Papalino situation? Do I just go and do as he says, or do I, because even though I know, at that stage it's very clear he's going to die, I know if I stay he's going to die anyway, and I'm probably going to end up back on that airship somehow, but my character's decision is well, do I resist you just a little bit so that, I care and that I don't want to abandon you and you don't feel alone at the end? That is what the character choice does, and that is how it impacts the player playing the game. Even though the choice means absolutely nothing in terms of the final outcome. So it forces the player to actually examine what's going on, think about the story, how it pertains to them, and really define who their own character is, which will make them closer to their own character, which will have them more invested in the story. You can do all of this while still having your choice not matter at all. And that is when, when we take principles like gameplay first and we apply them in a very blind and very rigid way, we lose out things like this that are very important. The next thing then, Alisaie. You know what? That bit when she's like, man, all this political speech, load of bullshit. Look at my brother. Look how he goes on. How silly. Great. So with Alisaie being just the way that Alisaie is, she actually feels a bit more close to the player. She's not some sort of diplomat scholar. And yes, she still absolutely is a Shardian from a fantasy world, but it feels like she could blend into our world a lot easier than Alphinaud could. But that just means she's a nice sort of grounding character for the cast. So I think she's super valuable, and the dynamics between her and Alphinaud, the way that they've changed up and softened with Alphinaud's character development and also hers, again, really, really puts into perspective how extremely important it is to play the Bahamut storyline in A Realm Reborn before you get to Heavensward. You really do have to. A final thing then, just Roban's little ending in 3.5.6, where he obviously disagrees with Ilbert and everything that he's done, but you can see that little bit of respect even through it all. You kind of still know as well, he does care about my homeland, and that just leaves you in this place where you're like, shit, we've heard about Ala Mhigo for so long, it is finally time to go. So overall, Heavensward is the best narrative I've ever played in an MMORPG, and frankly, because MMORPGs have taken up so much of my time over the last quite a few years, it is one of absolutely the top notch game storylines. It had it all, It had some nice grounded stuff. It had the changing of a nation. It had the politics. It had the action. It had, a little bit of, it's a Japanese story, you can't trust the Pope, but I kind of enjoy that stuff a lot anyway. So it just had it all, I really feel like I've just been given the complete package. And what I hear about Stormblood is that Stormblood is a lot more on the ground. It's a lot more dealing with those grounded things. It doesn't have as much of the higher fantasy concepts. I know a lot of people don't like Stormblood as much for that. I will say that because I really like how they executed the little touches of that so far in Heavensward, I am very much looking forward to Stormblood. That said, with the renewed sense of me feeling like the characters that I'm used to and like can die, they've handled all the deaths perfectly so far, and they have hit. And I guess that's the thing. I'm just so impressed by how this team manages to stick the landing on almost everything they do narratively. It's a very deep feeling of satisfaction that I have coming away from this. And then they're masterful at setting up the future plot elements in an exciting way. An exciting way that doesn't feel like I'm being baited for the future, You have these tantalizing things where it's like, oh shit, look where the story can go, this is so cool. But they don't just give you that. They always seem to ensure that you feel satisfied with where you are when a beat in the story ends. And that's because they're willing to do an epilogue, they're willing to have those extended character conversations, and yeah, buying the skip, pure madness. I now understand that the skip is probably really more intended there for people who, are just an alt character or something. But I couldn't imagine playing this without the skip. I mean, even going into Stormblood, so much of it was set up by A Realm Reborn. How could you... I don't know. Seems like it would ruin it. So, anyway, Stormblood. That's where I'm going. I can't wait. I know people have said things, but... you know what? From what I've seen so far, Xenos seems like quite a fella. A few interesting things going on. I hear the patches are all very fun too, so I'm still looking forward to it. Yes, it does seem like it's weaker than Heavensward and Shadowbringers, but it seems like it's still pretty strong. So anyway, I'm going to do that. thank you so much for just everyone giving me the kick up the ass I needed to get into this journey. I'm having a goddamn blast. I am going to be playing more tonight. Have a great day. Enjoy. Not that many days to Endwalker. I wonder if I'll get there. Anyway, that's it for me. Goodbye.
Sloppy.